Are you looking for a mini PC that's powerful, small, and easy on the energy bill? You might want to take a look at this, the GMKtec EVO-X1.
In today's review, we'll show you how this handles everything from production to gaming, what happens when you open it up, and also how to fix a couple of issues. Stick around to see if this tiny machine is worth your time. Welcome to Team Pandora.
Subscribble.
Another box, another unboxing. Let's go. It looks like we have something from GMKtec. It arrived for a video review, and we'll do our best to give an honest, unbiased opinion. And we have a... oh my god! It's an EVO-X1! So this is the first 6-point mini PC we've had on the channel, which is the new generation of the AMD Ryzen chips. The EVO-X1 uses the HX370, which has 12 cores separated into a big little configuration, meaning this could be very powerful and at the same time extremely efficient if you want to save on your energy bill. The onboard GPU, the Radeon A90M, gives us 4 more CUs than the popular 780M, with a nice speed increase. And it'll share the 32GB of LPDDR5X memory, which runs at a blistering fast 7500 MHz. Outside that we have PCIe Gen 4 NVMe storage, Windows 11 Pro is installed in the box, and let's quickly check the prices. On Amazon it's currently going for $899 if we use that $200 off coupon. It's on the main GMKtec website now at $919, and they have regular sales, so keep your eyes peeled for a good deal. And there's always AliExpress. We've left you affiliate links down below if you'd like to help out our channel at no extra cost to yourself. So let's open her up. Here we go. Alrighty. So first thing we see is the mini PC, and it looks very premium. A bit like a GameCube, I guess, but yeah, neat. Underneath this we get a cardboard envelope with a manual inside, and this covers a vast range of languages. Unfortunately, outside the specs and simple operations, it doesn't really give much detail, and we hope they can fix this in the future releases. At the bottom we've got a couple more boxes, and the first one with a power brick. It's the slightly smaller GVA model, outputting at the usual 19 volts, 6.32 amps, at a maximum of 120 watts. It uses the barrel jack and a 3-prong connector. We get a mini PC stand so it can look like a tiny mini PC tower. A warranty card. We have the power cable. And a 1.5 meter HDMI cable. So let's take a closer look. As we mentioned earlier, this does look very premium. The case is made of metal, and the AMD logos at the top right are at a slight wonky angle. And with it being so unintrusive, this would look great in any office or workspace. Moving to the front now, we have a varied selection of ports. At the very top we got the Oculink, full function USB 4, 2 USB 3.2s, a 3.5-inch audio jack, a pinhole for BIOS reset, and the green power button. Oh yeah! If we move to the right side, this mini PC is a little different, as this is the exhaust, and if we use the included stand, this way points upwards. And if we check the back side, we have a few more ports, such as 2 USB 2s, HDMI 2.1, DisplayPort 2.1, 2 ports for 2.5GB Ethernet LAN, DC in for power, and at the bottom right, Kensington. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, on this side we have some more air holes. This is for air intake. And this continues underneath. There's actually areas along the top of the case too, so there's no place where air stays stagnant. We have a couple of labels, and in the corners we have these feet. These ones are essentially metal screws with rubber at the bottom, so this little mini PC does not slide around your table. But if you do have an uneven desk, I guess we can only put it halfway in, and it'd sit right. Maybe. Meow! It's about time for the size comparison. The EVO-X1 is slightly larger than the G5, but it sits halfway between that and the K11. It actually matches the Geekom A7 in width, depth, but doubles its height. It's slightly smaller than the Ryzen Alloy 9, but let's bring some normal items that you'll have around the house, such as the Nintendo Game Boy, a slightly smaller than normal size banana, a Pez, this one's, Daffy, wank. A broken pencil sharpener, we'll be throwing this out tomorrow. Some crackers, a PlayStation 4 controller, a toothbrush, and of course, a Rooibos tea bag. The EVO-X1 is around 3.5 tea bags big. After connecting to a monitor, keyboard, speakers and mouse, we can get cracking. When we first turn it on, we're greeted to the GMKtec boot screen, and then the Windows setup screen. This only happens the first time, and it'll ask you for your language of choice, region, then you want to uncheck all of these. Unless you want Skynet, that is. Let it do its thing for a couple of minutes, and then we're in. As you can see, all the specs check out, and we have a HX370, 32GB of memory, and we're on Windows 11 Pro. And before doing anything else on a new computer, we highly suggest running a virus and malware scan. A full scan using the Windows Defender tool came back clean, as did Avast and Malwarebytes. No viruses here. So now that our computer's online, we get the OK for Windows activation. You can then update to the latest version of Windows if you wish, but we suggest you update the AMD drivers from their official website. It takes 5 seconds to do, and it'll get your computer running at its best. So let's see what it can do. Shopping and video streaming on Amazon? Not a problem. And that also applies to other video streaming services like Netflix, and 4K YouTube. But what about productivity? Well, this is where the GMKtec EVO-X1 shines. Writing up documents and creating spreadsheets is child's play for the system. Creating works of art in 2D graphic software like Photoshop and Krita is definitely possible. And in Blender, this has been the most capable mini PC we've seen so far, no doubt due to the performance bump of the integrated graphics.
Is there anything I can get you to drink while you're looking at the menus? Hey there, ladies. Hi, my name is Amy,
And as the EVO-X1 has some high clocks and a massive 12 cores, this will be great for music production. Here's some latency mon. And even if we faff with the main window, this thing doesn't even twitch. Good stuff. And if you need something for video production, the high core count and fast storage has you covered. And there's also the Ryzen AI neural processing that helps out in effects, such as masking and rotoscoping. It's about time we check out some benchmarks, and there's no real surprise that we see the GPU dominate any other PC we've had on the channel so far. However, with there being more CPU cores, AMD have decided to make 8 of them Zen 5C cores, which are basically AMD's answer to the Intel E-core. What this means is there won't be much of a difference for CPU scores in gaming benchmarks like TimeSpy, but when all cores can be used like in rendering, we'll see a sizable boost. Here's the Blender benchmark. And we also ran it through Geekbench AI. It's still early days for benchmarking AI, but we can see a nice bump if we look at the DirectML score. We're hitting PCIe Gen 4 speeds with our storage, but let's take a look at Wi-Fi. If the router is in the same room, we get acceptable speeds, but in the next room, through 2 layers of drywall, we can only connect at 2.4 GHz. So let's pair up a Bluetooth controller and test out some games. Starting off in the 2D, here's Cuphead at a solid 60 FPS. And if we bump up the resolution to 4K, no issues here. And we also get a solid performance from Dave the Diver. Rocket League at 1080p high settings is very playable, and there are no issues with thermal throttling.
Yay, I kinda scored!
Next up is DOTA 2. With our graphics settings at 1080p best looking, our FPS is over 60 at all times. And here's Fortnite. At 1080p high epic settings, we have good FPS while falling from the bus, and also in-game too. And here's Counter-Strike 2. 1080p low settings with FSR off. Next up is Tekken 8, 1080p medium settings. The previous generation always had dips in the third round of the urban stage. With the HX370, this is smooth as butter. 1440p is not quite there, but if you play with the settings or use the driver-based upscale, you should be able to get full speed. Here's Marvel Rivals, 1080p with FSR set to quality. We could lower resolution to speed things up, but checking frame gen in video settings gives us a nice boost.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man. He likes to do the five-finger shuffle.
Spider Fist is ready to punch!
Helldivers 2 gives us a respectable 45 FPS at 1080p medium settings. And if we whack it down to low, over 60. And we get similar from Cyberpunk 2077. And if we flick on FSR3 with frame gen, very nice indeed. In the BIOS, we can alter TDP. Quiet gives us 28 watts, balanced 54, and performance 65. It's set to balance to default, and while the performance setting can add FPS to our games, a TDP over 54 watts is out of AMD spec for this chipset. Then if we look at the added heat and power draw, added performance is hardly noticeable. Here's Geekbench, and we can observe a boost in graphics score. But if we check out TimeSpy, which is more in line with game performance, we see the opposite, where the CPU is given a slight bump. And the same applies to the multiple core score in Cinebench. As for temps and noise, at idle our CPU sits near 35 degrees Celsius, and it sounds like this. And it draws around 7 watts from the wall. In a gaming scenario, our CPU stays around 70 degrees. And while it's not noisy, it's not exactly silent. And it pulls just over 75 watts. As we wanted to test this at full load in performance mode, here we are. As expected, rather noisy. And this pulls 85 watts. As for the rest of the BIOS, it's remarkable to how much they've packed in here. We can increase frame buffer all the way to 16GB of VRAM, but there's just a crazy amount of settings to faff with. We have fan control, Pluton, and secure boot. And you want to disable this if you want to boot up Linux. And after inserting our Batocera SSD drive via USB, it boots straight up. Batocera is a Linux distro, primarily used for running emulators. The Wi-Fi works straight out of the box, and we can also connect our controller via Bluetooth. And we can play Neo Geo, 3D games in MAME like Tekken 3, Sega Model 3 games, it's Scud Race, PSP, here's God of War Chains of Olympus at 8 times upscale. For Gran Turismo 4 for the PlayStation 2, we couldn't quite get the 6 times upscale, but at 4 times, with a 1440p resolution, full speed. Here's some original Xbox, 3 times. But let's not beat about the bush. Let's get to the higher tier. Xbox 360, Dead or Alive 4. If we check the top of the screen, both the CPU and GPU aren't being pushed, but there are pops and crackles from the emulator. Once Xenia gets an update, we're pretty sure that this PC will have ample power. Next up is Hyrule Warriors for the Wii-U. First track does give a huge dip, but after that, we're at full speed. And we got to this boss. If you like Zelda and Dynasty Warriors, don't miss this one. But moving to PlayStation 3, it is kind of a hit and miss. Yes, we do get full speed, but there is a constant pulse of when the frames dip. For Bayonetta, it's not too obvious, but in Ridge Racer 7, much more noticeable.
Give it your best shot.
Another feature of the EVO-X1 is that it has an Oculink port, allowing us to use an external GPU. This one's also from GMKtec, and if you're interested, check the link in the description down below. To use it, it's pretty simple. We just plug everything up and then power on the computer, and after installing the drivers, we get around double the performance of the onboard GPU. But Ridge Racer still has them dips. It might be due to the CPU only having 4 performance cores rather than 8, and it's very possible that this could be sorted within the PlayStation 3 emulator in the future. So as is, it looks pretty nice, but let's open it up. The feet at the bottom act as screws, so let's unscrew them. Now they're out, we should be able to pull this apart. Literally. Okay, so we've got 4 more screws, let's go. Once they're out, we can pull this off, and we have full access to the top half of the case. Inside looks very clean. We have the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth chip over here, which is an Intel AX200. We have 2 M2 storage slots, both rated for PCIe Gen 4, and we're given a crucial P3+. Let's tear it down. There are 4 more posi screws on the board. And unlike GMKtec's previous systems, there is no clear way of getting in. At first it looks like you'd have to break and enter, but believe it or not, GMKtec went all in and they showed us how to open your EVO-X1. Looks simple enough. Let's give it a shot. Alright, that's one side out. Come on. Finally. A bit more difficult than expected. And, ow. Tis but a scratch.
Your arm's off!
After that, we can remove the board. Then we need to take out the Wi-Fi chip. We can then remove the 4 screws that are attached to the main CPU heatsink. Flip it over. Unplug the fan. And we can get to the nitty-gritty. So it looks like we broke a thermal pad, but at least we have access to the main CPU, allowing us to perform maintenance like replacing thermal pads or changing thermal paste. Aw yeah. Unfortunately, there really wasn't a change in temperature or noise levels, but we did think of a solution. The HX370 should have a default setting of 28 TDP, but a balance setting gives us 54 watts on the EVO-X1. Simply put, lowering the power limit to silent, which is 28 watts, will make it cooler, quieter, and ultimately put less stress on the parts. I also chose to alter the fan setting slightly, allowing the PWM to kick in earlier, and the results? Absolutely fantastic. At just under 52 watts. As for the Wi-Fi, we tested out the Intel BE200, but unfortunately it was not compatible with the computer. So then we tried another Wi-Fi 7 card, a MediaTek MT7925. We got this for $18 on AliExpress, and while the 2.4 GHz band was comparable, the 5 GHz kicked it completely out the park, and it's a nice upgrade if you have issues with the Intel AX200. You know what? I think it's time for the pros and the cons. The GMKtec EVO-X1 is a small and powerful mini PC that, due to the amount of cores and improved GPU, is ideal for both productivity and even online gaming. As we have an Oculink port, we can further enhance the GPU if needed, and the stand is a nice inclusion if we like Tate mode. Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi at stock is mediocre at best, and we found it to be a little noisy, a disappointment when the K8 Plus was whisper quiet. Thankfully, we can fix this in the BIOS, but in the future, we hope the GMKtec can be less aggressive when it comes to their power limit settings. If you're confused of which to go for between these two, well, it's quite simple, let me explain. If you want to save a few bucks, need something that's easy to maintain, and want to play PlayStation 3, then the K8 Plus or K11 is the one for you. But if your focus is on productivity, PC games, and a lower energy bill, then you can't go wrong with the GMKtec EVO-X1. Just remember that both of these have the Oculink port, so if you ever need to play newer games, an external GPU is an easy upgrade. So, what do we think of the GMKtec X1? Well, it's a great little system, after a couple of tweaks. Summary.
I've got this little box, it's quite the machine. 12-core wonder, it can get a little mean. Ouch! Plays the latest games, makes some videos too, with recent titles. FrameGen helps you through. It's got a cool design, oh look at it go. But that Wi-Fi range, it's dreadful you know. Change the module now, it's not so bad. But the noise under load, it'll drive you mad. Evo, it's the EVO-X1. EVO-X1.
If you're still around, hit that like. Or if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe. We have plenty of other videos, and if you want to check one out,
Engage my stick.
not quite, John. This has been Emu Chicken of Team Pandori, and I'll catch you on the next one. Ta-ra!